and welcome to GreenBiz Studio. My name is Sarah Golden. I'm the Senior Energy Analyst at GreenBiz, and I'm also the Conference Chair for Verge Energy. And I'm delighted to be joined today by Mark Goodwin, who's the President and CEO of Apex Clean Energy. Mark, welcome.
Well, thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
I have been amazed with all of the work that Apex has been doing in the last few years and the number of giant deals that I've seen you come out with renewable procurements with corporate off-takers. And I am curious to know if you have seen this market change at all, whether you've seen it slow down at all with the hit of COVID this year.
I think when COVID initially hit in March, there was some assessment on the part of corporate power purchasers about wanting to understand their core business. But really, since then, we've seen the activity be just as strong. Most of the large players who have been leaders in renewable procurement have held the course and continue to be like active in the market for wind and solar procurement. So no big changes that I've seen. We've also been adjusting our business to be optimized in the COVID era, and I think the corporate purchasers have done the same.
How have you optimized your business? What's been different?
Well, what has changed is like we're building projects. So when in March we were working on 3 large wind projects where we were construction manager, and we had to get into the details in those specific states about what are the lockdown orders and how can we continue to do our work. And what the industry found and what we found was that one of the activities which is fairly lends itself to continuing to move forward in a social distancing manner is the construction of wind and solar facilities. So we instituted safety procedures to make sure we were doing it correctly, but we had to make sure that was something that we could do. And then the other activity that we're active in is the permitting of wind projects, and state and local county officials had to get comfortable in how they do that process, and our people had to make sure that they could either engage safely through remote virtual permitting processes, or in some cases travel to sites and engage with local officials in a way that was appropriate given COVID. So we've been optimizing from that perspective as well.
It's truly just changed every single industry. What's needed to ensure large-scale renewable projects, including utility scale or commercial and industrial projects, can continue to grow, can continue to meet the escalating renewable energy demands?
Well, I think you're asking about the activity on the corporate market, and that has been ramping up over the past 5 years considerably. And many of those corporates are really just, at the beginning of satisfying their goals. And, in some ways, it's the tip of the iceberg. At the same time, states and municipalities and other government agencies are also stating their goals for going to carbon-free energy. And one of the best ways to do that is to procure utility scale electricity from wind and solar. So what's needed in order to keep the momentum going is to ensure the ability of companies like Apex to deliver those projects. One of the impediments is to continue to increase the availability of transmission, utility scale transmission projects. So we need interregional planning between RTOs and ISOs, or regional transmission organizations, and independent system operators. Those are the folks that are planning transmission that enables the delivery of projects in places where there's not as much consumption of electricity to places that want to consume clean electricity. So we need more transmission. We also need in that planning process for the market design to accommodate the growth of renewables. What is still the case is that there is not a mechanism for there to reward clean energy and to have a price for energy that is polluting with carbon dioxide and methane. So that market design still needs to be put in place to continue to accelerate the shift to clean energy.
Sounds like developers are ready and waiting, and that we have some regulations and policies to take care of.
Yeah, we are at a place right now where we're delivering upwards of 10 gigawatts of wind and 10 gigawatts of utility solar a year, and we need to be doing 3-4 times as much as that in order to achieve the goal of a carbon-free economy by 2050. And that is going to also go in conjunction with transitioning the transport sector and the industrial sector to using electricity. So we'll need to ramp up the amount of electricity that the economy is using, and at the same time ramp up the amount that we're able to deliver to the grid.
I know that Apex works with companies of all sizes. How have you seen the market change over the last few years to accommodate different sized off-takers and different deal types?
Many of the tech companies have been leading on procurement, and they have large load of their, in many cases, their data centers are big load. And then other big Fortune 500 companies like McDonald's has been a repeat customer of ours. And what we've been, one of the specialties that we have had is designing and permitting large projects where smaller companies can participate in the procurement of electricity and take advantage of the economies of scale that those large projects have. So, in the beginning of the renewable era, the typical procurement was done by utilities. They would do they would do the offtake for the entire project. And now we have large projects, 3, in some cases 500 megawatt projects, where we have anchor off-takers that are some of the larger Fortune 500 type companies, but they are aligned and sometimes working with smaller companies within their supply chain to participate in those same projects. And at the same time, they're able to take advantage of the economies of scale that those large projects provide for them. So we're seeing more and more companies define the same goals that the large companies have, and they're able to participate in these projects, which is, as I mentioned, some of these large renewable projects are some of the low-hanging fruit for them to decarbonize their operations.
Finally, I've seen some off-takers turn towards other environmental, social, and governance principles as a lens for selecting renewable energy projects. So one thing that comes to mind is the project you did earlier this year with Applied Material. And I know they announced their renewable energy goals within the context of larger ESG goals. And I'm wondering if you're seeing more off-takers coming to you and wanting to know more than just price and location and cost per megawatt hour, to know how are your projects interacting with the local community or land use and other considerations.
Those types of off-taker are always very interested in us being good partners with the community. And the more that the local community is welcoming us, that we are helping those communities with the funding education, funding roads, of helping to limit the taxation at at a community, at a county level, then that's wins for corporations. At the same time, we're also attempting to improve the products that we offer to corporations, where in the future we'll be offering hybrid procurement, where we're combining the offtake of wind and solar that we're delivering, and that gives those corporations a window into buying power, which is aligned with how they're consuming power. So if we're timing the generation with their load consumption, that's a more efficient, higher quality product. And I think you'll be seeing more of that hybrid type of offtake that also in some cases will be deploying storage as well. So there's lots of advancement, not just in how we're engaging with corporations, how they can see that we're benefiting local communities, but also improving the product that we can offer to them.
Well, Mark, thank you so much for joining me today in Green Biz Studio. It is such a pleasure to hear all the work that Apex Clean Energy is doing. So please keep up the good work. Once again, I'm Sarah Golden, and you've been watching Green Biz Studio.
All right. Thanks, Sarah. It's been a pleasure to join you.